If I'm sitting here and I have it up and then I'm talking like this, I'm trying to tell you, you should come in to see my car. Da, da, da. What does this feel like to you psychologically?
You're
It
in it.
feels like I'm scolding you. It feels
Yeah.
like I'm done. It doesn't feel like a connection. It feels aggressive,
Yep.
right? But I want to show you the reverse. What I see a lot of salespeople do, they're like this, right? Come through. I have your vehicle. This is my Toyota Corolla, whatever, whatever. And you know what you're getting subconscious? You're a child
Mm-hmm.
and you're not prepared. You don't know what you're doing, and it's subservient, right?
Yeah. Welcome to Driven by Intelligence. Well, we're about to have some fun today and have an insightful conversation with somebody who I follow in the industry, and I'm sure many of you follow in the automotive industry. But let me give a short introduction real quick, and then I'm gonna let my dear friend here do his jam in terms of breaking down his story, his journey. But always got to start it off with something fresh. And so today we are with Marion Cain III, known as the US's, I was loving this, the United States #1 luxury auto sales trainer with over 33,000 followers on TikTok. I just looked it up last night. My man's on fire. And a significant presence all over LinkedIn and many other social platforms. Marion brings a wealth of experience from the dealership floor to the digital age. Right? As an F&I manager, consultant, and coach, Marion has trained over 1,250 professionals, including pro athletes and CEOs. His insights into AI integration, sales psychology, and the impact of global trends like tariffs and many other things that we've seen this year and probably going to see make him a sought after voice in the industry and beyond. So let's get into the conversation without further ado. Marion Cain III. That's what we need to,
Hey,
you know what I
thanks for
mean?
having
We can
me.
get it
Thanks
going.
for
But
having me.
on a serious tip, though, thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, and your wisdom to be on here. And please introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about who you are. For some reason, they have no idea who you are.
Yeah, I try to stay low key. That's my aim in life. That's actually not true. But anyways, what who I am, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son. But most importantly, I just love people. I love connecting with people, and I found that that connection is the crux of not only exponential growth in your business, but immense profits. Right now, because of technology, we are so disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
what happens is that the closer we can bring that connection, the closer we can bring that trust together, folks really need to understand how that would exponentially improve all facets of their life. And that's one thing I'm super passionate about with the car industry and also training and helping people is because I truly believe it's a gateway into improving all facets of your life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're sitting there, you're providing someone with the means to support their family as a status marker of all the things that they've done in life. You know, it's such a gift, and it's such a blessing to just be a part of just even the whole industry. And I've been a part of different industries my whole life. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I first started off as an accountant and risk manager. I worked for Price Waterhouse, traveled
That's
all over the
crazy.
world, did things called transfer pricing, did risk management. So when people got hurt, injured, or killed, they would call us in as like a dark ops crew to resolve cases. So I was one of the lead negotiators within at in New York, which is considered worldwide as a legal hellhole. Queens and the Bronx and in Brooklyn, they're synonymous with huge verdicts. So they would have a crew of us that would come in and represent the money, and we would resolve the cases without the lawyers, without the the lawyers, the insurance companies, and all that. We'd
Mm-hmm.
go in and facilitate it. What happened at
Yeah.
a very young age, I was very good at negotiating. And eventually they asked me to write a book and to write a manual for everyone to benefit from it at branches worldwide. And that's what really made me stop and really think, what was my methodology? Because I knew I just had an internal feeling about people. I could really feel the inside of them. I knew when to push. I knew when to back off. I knew when there was a good deal and when it wasn't a good deal. I just could see 2, 3 levels ahead. And I just wasn't satisfied on saying, okay, I just have it. I wanted to quantify it because
Yeah.
what was happening is that the majority of the people that we were helping were folks that were families. The husband became a paraplegic, just going to work and hurt himself. People just got into car accidents and it completely disrupted their life. And usually, the life cycle of an accident, if you've ever been in one, it takes years. But if you can help reduce that into months or even weeks, not only does the company benefit, but the person benefits. Right? There's a whole reason behind this. I'll get to it. So what I did is I started on a deep dive on why I had this special ability. And so I went and I just read everything I could. I'm talking about not just the stuff in the Barnes and Nobles, but I went to the colleges. I read papers, and then what I would do is every time I'd read a book or read a paper, I'd reach out to that professor, and you could be amazed at the amount of times the professors would reach back out to me, and I have lifelong friends to this day. So what ended up happening is I found out that the crux of my power was because my brother had a disease called sickle cell anemia.
Dang.
So if you know anything about sickle cell anemia, my brother has spent a third of his life in the hospital.
Hmm.
Every 3 months he goes in, he has a sickle cell crisis, right? And so me and him shared a room, and it was my job, my responsibility, and my love for my brother. I wanted to try to figure out before he got the crisis if we can avert it, or if we can get him to the hospital in time, because if you know with sickle cell, they're in extreme pain. So the
Oh
quicker they
yeah.
can get to the hospital, the quicker they can get relief. And at times you could even ward off the issues. So I just became very adept at looking at his breathing, looking at his eyes, the color of his eyes, whether they were white, whether they were yellow, just if he was lethargic, the rates of his speech, if he was slowing down, if he was speeding up. And it's just all those little things that over time continuously helped me to develop this skill. But what took it to an even bigger level is being in the hospital a third of my life. I got a chance to see the dynamics in the hospital. I could readily identify stress. I could readily identify pain. I sat there, would listen as in the outside where someone was about to tell their child, someone told the
Mm.
parents that the child was terminal. And I had to walk back in and talk to the kid about it and tell them everything's okay. They knew everything wasn't okay, you know? And so all those little things really helped me to really excel in that field, really excel in negotiation. And then the next level is I was a stadium speaker. So I've
What?
spoken in 14 stadiums. Largest crowd I've ever been in front of was 35,000 at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. And once I recognized if you can dominate in front of 40,000, you can dominate one on one.
You sure can.
Pitch, pace, power, breaking down a point, application, an analogy, future pacing, all of that stuff. When you get one on one, it is a wrap. It's over, right? So I come from training a completely different aspect where everyone is focusing on the other person, how to read them, how to react to them. I make sure you show up as a beast. I make sure you
Mm.
show up dominant. I make sure you control all the variables. And at that point, they get sucked into your world. You become magnetic. And that's what people want right now. They want an experience, right? They want to feel amazing. They want that connection. So, take for instance, you go to a Michelin rated restaurant, a top restaurant. All those people have food in their refrigerator at home. You walk into a boutique, you a high end store, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. All of them have clothes at home. All of them have shoes at home, but what do they want? They want the
They want
status market.
experience. Yeah.
They want the experience. They want the connection. They want to be wowed. So that is what I really feel is missing in auto. And what I really draws me to what you're doing in terms of the video and really getting the video out is that is the crux of the transformation of the 21st century of the automobile industry. Video. The reason being is if you can dominate on video, if you can captivate on video, you can create the experience in house. What people are looking for, they know more about the car than you do. They want to make sure they can trust you before they come in. People think the marketing and all this stuff, they're already sold before they walk into the vehicle. The marketing's done its job. It's you, right? So they want to sit there and create that trust. They want to create that connection, and they want to reduce they want to conserve their time, right? And part of that elegance is being able to understand, yeah, I'm not just buying a car
Mm-hmm.
from so and so Motors. That doesn't work anymore. The big name at the top. They want Duran.
That's right.
They want the Cage family. They want to feel part of your family. They want to feel part of your connection. The reason being is because people have focused on their careers. They focused on dominate what they can do, their niche. When they want to go to that next level, they want to be allied with an expert. They want you to do the thinking for them. They want you
Mm-hmm.
to do the work for them. They want you to do the effort, but they want it to appear effortless. And they also want a portable story. They want to be able to turn around and show their friends, Mr. K, this is my guy right here. You have an issue? You want to do? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna send you a link to my guy. That's the 21st century. That's what's new. So I know that was a little bit long winded, but what do you think,
Man,
Jay?
that was no. I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking. I'm like, dude, we might need to get like a link for people to just pay for the rest of this experience because it's about to get in.
We're about to
Like,
we're about to get. Hey,
woo!
listen. This is. But what's funny is how many conversations have me and you had, and I rarely just talk to folks. Like
Yeah.
all of our conversations are podcast worthy. We just feed off each other. Great times, great energy. But I really think what it is a synergy of just love for people. And what
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand, if you have love for people, that will increase your profits. That will increase your margins. That will increase your CSI.
Yep.
It's not just a checklist. It's a way of life.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right too because what I found and what you're saying is so true because even with social media, if I lead with content with money in my heart, it drops. If I lead with content with the help another human being, even if it's one person, it helps. It grows. It
Right.
connects. And that's what I'm hearing you say is like that video is that connector to all of us. And I've already got some notes down, man. And one of the ones was a word that you said that I think it kind of connects into the next question that I have for you is about building this personal brand using video content and other
Right.
strategies. But you said a word and you said magnet, and I like that because it's so much of what video does, what experience does, what connecting with humans does. It literally makes you like a magnet. And the reason why I feel this is so important is because right before I got on this, I got a text message from a good friend, but he's also in the automotive industry, and he was just saying it seems like it's harder than it's ever been right now. It's like you got dealers, just people are frustrated. And as we're recording this, side note, it is May it's May 2025, so we're in 2025 right now.
Yeah.
It's been really weird, and so my message back to him was kind of like what we're talking. I said, "What you have to do now," I said, "in times like these, we have to double down on connection, double down on experience, double down with being intentional." Because people are going to go through the noise of everything else. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for the right people to attract to. And that's what's so amazing about you too, is since we've connected over the last, months or years, watching you gets me fired up. Like I'm like, okay. And then when I was looking at the videos you shot recently, gets me engaged. But the question to you is when people are watching this and they see you or either they see myself and they want to build something like that, maybe not so much to be a trainer or even in F&I or whatever, but to build their personal brand. And when you think about personal brand and how you built what you built, because it kind of keeps going with the story that you've told. Dang, and I wish I wanted to talk about accounting, but we're going to keep moving. But it goes in line with the story that you told. It's almost like you've been building this brand the whole way. But then when did the personal brand kind of transition into a documented brand going into social media?
Well, it turned into social media when I was on stage
Mm-hmm.
and I'd walk off stage, and people would just walk up to me, and they would just have an open checkbook, and they say, "Teach me, train me." So that led to me connecting with a lot of CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a lot of folks on Instagram for a long time. I've also trained LA Dodgers. I work with
What?
their broadcast team. It's a different level when you're not chasing, you're attracting.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I want to stop, and I just want to challenge you on, right? And I just want to not to be contrary, I just want to challenge
No,
you on.
please
I'm just
do.
going to tell you flat out. Right now is the easiest time to make a lot of money.
I agree
Right now
with
is the
that.
easiest. I'm telling you flat out. Right now, as we're speaking right now, my team is setting as has the all time is setting the all time record for vehicle service contracts. In November, we set the all time record, right, for the whole corporation in terms of gross per deal, right? So I'm just going to let you know, like the stuff I teach and the thought process, the mindset, right?
Yeah.
I broke records pre-COVID. I broke records during COVID, and I've smashed everyone's COVID records post-COVID, right? So it had nothing to do with the circumstances. It has to do with you as an individual. And I've done it with single moms. I've done it with 18-year-olds. I've done it with veterans. I've done it with grandmas. You can look at my YouTube. They shot there. They've posted testimonial. So the key thing
Wow.
about it is like there's just a different level. People are thirsting for this experience. They're thirsting for this connection. Times have changed, right? There's no more of these old school, hard hitting, push tactics, right?
Yep.
I saw a statistic the other day that really drove this home. With luxury automobiles, do you know that 30% of them get out of their car within the first six to months to a year?
Wow.
So a lot of times folks are worried about this 3 year, 8 year cycle. They're getting out in 6 months, right? And you want to know what's even more interesting? They're not going back to the people they dealt with before
I was just
because
about to
it,
say
because it
that.
goes with the old adage. It goes with
Yeah.
the old adage. The wrong car at the right price is the wrong car. So these hard hitting, pushy tactics that meeting quotas that are pushing your sales staff, you're getting that one deal, but that's it. You're losing the tail. You're losing the multiple deals. You're losing the multiple buyers. You're losing that word of mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's happening right now with the stress is that people can't see past the day. They can't see past their hand. They can't see the bigger picture, right? So if you didn't do this hard, pushy, overly aggressive tactics and stuff like that, they'd be on the right car and they'd buy multiple cars from you, or they'd trust you and they'd understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe we need to try our different strategy, and then keeps flipping out every couple of years, but they come back to you
Man, that's so
because they feel
good.
comfortable with you. So it's the statistics and stuff they show. They never lie. They never lie. But you have to follow what's exactly working, and you can't just follow the crowd. The sheep mentality is just not going to work anymore.
No, it's not. And I want to go deeper into something that you said. I wrote it down. You talked about how the F&I managers or the people that you're coaching specifically, how they're winning. And you mentioned another M word. So the first M word was magnet. And then the
Yeah.
second one is mindset. And I don't want to make that a cliche statement about it being
No, it's
mindset
everything.
because we talk about that. Yeah,
Everything.
it's so important because even with the clients that I coach, especially the leaders, the owners, the CEOs, to me, majority of that conversation is strategically around mindset to keep
Right.
them focused and to not get focused on the news and the noise. And then it
Hmm.
goes into how do we protect that mindset? What are the things that we're doing outside of work? I mean, it's almost like personal coaching, like hiring a personal coach. So talk to me about how do you get into the mindset of an F&I manager who's watching this now, but how do you get in the mindset of somebody who's down, who's coming to you for that coaching to grow? How do you shift that mindset to where they focus in on abundance rather than lack by looking at the current state of what they seem to be of the economy or their customer network?
Great question. One thing that's different about my approach, and in the beginning, I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, I couldn't see my path while I was going through it. It was so much pain, but I had to rely so much on God. I had to rely so much on faith. I had to rely so much on my internal belief that I doing the right thing was going to help me in the long run. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you just from the get go, I went from off the street to GM in 3.5 years. Okay,
Wow.
3.5 years. I've held every single position in the dealership, right? So I've done sales. I've done finance. I've been the finance director. I've been the sales manager. I've been the GSM. I've been the GM. Right. I've been on the lines. I've been a service. I've written service. Right.
Wow.
So and then on top of it, I have my accounting background. So I can easily look in. I can understand a P&L. I can understand the accounting aspects to run a dealership. So one thing about it is when you can understand and you see the 1,000 foot view of the dealership, right? And you understand how each part works in together, making a lot of money is effortless.
Mm.
So what really happens is everybody just sees their silo and they don't understand they don't understand everything, the inter nuances of everything. And I'm not trying to bash on other trainers and stuff like that. A lot of them they don't even know about F&I. They don't even know about accounting. They've never even seen a P&L. They've never seen those different things. So then you can understand, okay, how you can align your goals with your owner's goals, with your manager's goals, with the
Mm-hmm.
salespeople's goals. So everybody wins, right? When you do that, boom, profits skyrocket. So when you have enough belief in yourself, you know, I like, what's a good way to put it? Um, a lot of times people don't make the high numbers. Like when I first walk into every single job, I want to know all the all time records. Give me
Yes.
all the all time records.
Yep.
Okay, this is the best way of mindset I can explain. First thing I walk in, I want to know all your all time records, everything you got. I want to know units, gross, units per, everything, and I look at it every single month. Right? I look at the all time records every single month, and then I add to it 50%. Sometimes I even want to go double for it. That's what I shoot for. So then I reverse engineer, right?
Howdy.
What I need to do on a daily basis to break that record, right? So I'll sit there and I'll reverse engineer it. And what's interesting, I chunk it into days and I chunk it into weeks. So I
Mm-hmm.
understand, okay, to break that record, I need to do this many a day, or I need to sell this amount of money a day. I know at the end of the week I need to be at this number, right?
Yep.
What did I do that week? And then I turn that perfect week into a perfect 2 weeks. And I turn the perfect 2 weeks into a perfect 3 weeks. At the end of 4 weeks, I've killed your record in a month. And I move on to the next one. So what happens is success leaves clues, but you have to aim, right? That's the problem. Folks come into the dealership every day and they
Mm-hmm.
have no aim. When they get knocked off their pivot, right? They get knocked
Yep.
off their pivot. They can't regroup because they don't have daily non-negotiables. They do not have a system. They do not have a formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sell 30 cars in a month is the easiest thing, right? I've ran 4,500 a copy, easy, right? It's like clockwork. No deception, none of that stuff, and you get CSI. You just understand. I've broken store records as a group with a team, right? Because we're constantly every day monitoring our efforts. We know how many appointments we need, how many contacts we need, how many people we need, right? But it's all about getting aligned with the goals, right? Units and all that other stuff, that's for the dealer. You got to understand. My salespeople want money in their pockets. My trainers want my trainees, they want a bigger house, they want better cars, they want to send their kids to better schools, they want the clothes, they want the look, they want the vacation. They could care less about the units,
Yeah.
right? So when you could train somebody how to get that in a short amount of time, the units and everything come. So you have units and gross, which people say is impossible, but it very well is when you approach it the right way. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by the mindset is you have to reduce it to the ridiculous, and then you have to keep repeating efforts that you already have. You have to treat all of your conversations like a business. None of this winging it. Say the same thing, the same jokes, the same intro over and over and over again. One of my favorite movies I like to show people is Groundhog Day. right? What
Oh
was the
yeah,
premise of Groundhog Day? You remember that with Bill Murray for some of our younger audiences, right?
that was one of my favorite movies. Probably one of the
But
first movies I
but
saw
but when
Bill
you think
Murray in.
about it on a micro and a macro level,
Yep.
what did you see? What do you see?
The same thing happening over and over again. And then my man making the pivots, right? Making those changes as he starts recognizing, like, oh, okay, let's change this because I'm running into this hiccup, but it's the same thing. And then you start preparing for it too. So you start knowing what's coming down the line.
You know, so and what was interesting in that movie is that he was able to dominate the whole atmosphere. He was able to make people that hated him fall in love with him in a matter of a day. He sat there, was able. He walked into a bank and was able to just do all the little moves and rob the bank without hurting
Mm-hmm.
anybody. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
sat there and he was able to thrive. But that's really what our life is like on a daily basis, especially in sales. Like people don't understand. It's like it's very simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of video and connecting and the like that, I just feel all of this all connects in together, right? Everything.
Yeah.
Because
It's
what's happening
all.
right now is that people are not following the box anymore. They're not
Mm-hmm.
following the name on the front. Those old videos of the general manager with the American flag and the drone footage and stuff, they don't work.
Yeah.
No, nobody cares about that. And then you want to know what's even crazier?
What's that?
People aren't driven by price anymore.
Mm-mm.
That's what folks don't. That's what folks don't even get, especially in the luxury market. But even in regular market, people are not driven by price, right?
Yep.
Take for instance the tariffs, right? I've seen all these trainers and I've seen all these dealerships. They all are leading with, and the tariffs are coming. Tariffs are coming, and so why would they say that? Why would they lead with, "Hey, the tariffs are coming"?
I would say they would lead with that out of their own fear and their own narrative around it, and then trying to use that to drive price, right? So then you kind of use that fear to kind of move the fear instead of sticking to the core message about what you're doing as a solution to what's going on.
What they're doing is projecting,
Yep.
right? They're projecting their fears, what would motivate them
Yep.
onto the buyer. But especially in terms of luxury, right? They don't care about, they want certainty. They want presence. They want an experience. So the minute they ask you about the tariffs, they ask you what's going on, and you just say, "Oh, the tariffs are coming. You better buy now." That creates uncertainty, and an uncertain mind never buys,
That's right.
especially people that are affluent. They'll sit back and they'll wait to see how the market corrects itself, right?
Mm.
So our biggest month, I knew for a fact, I was able to kill November because I understood that as soon as Trump got elected,
Mm-hmm.
his people had certainty. I overloaded. We broke the records. Everybody walked out big, you know? So it's just the timing. You got to understand market conditions, right? So what happens is that instead of projecting policy, you're dictating policy.
That's it.
You're the game changer.
Man, that's so good because I think this is perfect timing for this message because I feel like some people are kind of in between that, you know, man, like where they don't know what is the narrative, what message should I tell. And this kind of goes into the next question I have because we've talked so much about experience. We've talked about protecting our mind and being magnetic, but then now let's layer that on with what technology can do. I mean, we've talked about video a little bit. We hadn't really
Yeah.
talked as much about artificial intelligence and what role that may play. But talk to me about when you're coaching your teams and coaching people, how is the technology integrated into the experience when you're coaching them and how you're teaching them to really innovate themselves?
Oh, that's fantastic. And I don't know if I could switch and change my screen a little bit because one thing about what I've changed up is what gets measured gets managed,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
So the key thing about it is how do you I've always been fascinated with, okay, how do you measure interpersonal skills growth? How do you look at it over time? And the key thing about it is the best way. That's why I love YouTube and videos and stuff like that. You go back through historically. I love it because it's the arbiter of truth now. It
hmm,
doesn't matter what you say on your resume. It doesn't matter who you present yourself as. I can go look at during Cage and I could look at your family, and I could go look at all your social media from 2, 3 years back, and I could see if you're congruent, if you're legit. I can see how you've grown, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I walk in, and it's like I'm not just buying things; I'm buying you. I'm buying this certainty, the creation, the evolution that you have. So the key thing is what I look at is I've been able to break down um, the interpersonal aspects of dominance, persuasion, connection, and presence. And I train, and I teach people how to elevate those on each connection, on each level. It gets to the point where you can look a person in the face and say, "I don't know," and they like you and respect you for it.
Wow.
And it's different. It's a different setup. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I can turn the screen a little bit,
Oh, that's
right?
fire. So
Okay.
that's what
So this is my vibe board, right?
I like
This is
that.
my vibe board. So what happens is every single person, right? I'm gonna move myself. Every single person, I sit back and I look at their videos. I put them through training. I watch their stuff, right?
Hmm.
And I measure. I measure, and I have a file for everyone. So everyone has a file, right? So when you're looking, I'm looking at you from a distance. When we're one on one, I'm looking to see where your gesture's at. I'm looking to see where you touch, where you look. I'm looking at all different angles. When we're on video, right? I want to see how you're presenting yourself in this box, in this dominance, right?
Hmm.
Because what happens is the reason why I have them straight 45 and back and forth is because when you're in a smaller box, you have spatial dominance, right?
Yep.
Right? But you got to stay in here. You can't necessarily have your gestures all out here because you see you missing a hand flying in and out. That's distracting, right? But you
Yep.
have to connect on that level too. The biggest thing I see, especially on a for folks that work in dealerships and they're doing personal videos, is what me and you talked about before, the eye plane, right? I'm going to show you something real quick, and it's illustrated right now because I don't have my DSLR camera. I'm on my computer, right?
Oh,
But I
you're
want to
good.
illustrate something right here, right? If I'm sitting here and I have it up, and then I'm talking like this, I'm trying to tell you, you should come in to see my car. Da, da, da. What does this feel like to you psychologically?
You're
It
in it.
feels like I'm scolding you. It feels
Yeah.
like I'm done. It doesn't feel like a connection. It feels aggressive,
Yep.
right? But I want to show you the reverse. What I see a lot of salespeople do, they're like this, right? Come through. I have your vehicle. This is my Toyota Corolla, whatever. And you know what you're getting subconscious? You're a child
Hmm.
and you're not prepared. You don't know what you're doing, and it's subservient, right?
Yeah.
So that's how powerful just basic stuff like camera angles
Yeah.
is to your message. And I see it all the time, especially on like ESPN and different stuff like that. This is $1 billion organization, and they have folks, people coming and giving their opinions,
Yeah.
and they're either like this or they're in the screen down here, right? And I'm not even listening to what they're saying, toned out completely.
Yep.
So it's those little nuances. So once you kind of get past the body language aspect, I want to be able to turn the screen off and
Hmm.
assess you and get your feel, your vibe, your energy. I want to know what you're saying without even hearing your words,
Right.
and it's possible because that is that internal visceral connection that's going to get that individual off their couch into their car 45 minutes to your dealership while they pass 4 or 5 other dealerships
All day.
because they got to see you. They got to see you, right? So this right here is breaking down actually what you got to sit there and look at the individual. I want to see date time, and I'm looking at their growth,
I
all the
like
different
that.
levels. I have all the different aspects that are necessary. And we're sitting here, me and my team, we break it down for you, top to bottom, because what gets measured gets managed. You can see
Hmm.
your growth. I can tell you exactly to work on. It's not just some esoteric um, do better or it looks great, it looks good. No, this is specific, detailed, directed psychological advice based on you and your personality type that's tailored to you, right? So we have innate strengths,
I like that.
people's perfection points. But see, what happens a lot, especially in our younger salespeople, is their eyes. The key thing is about trust, and it's something that's messed up right now with our youth. Is they can't I make eye contact with an individual. Their eyes are all over the place, and they don't understand that those are subconscious markers that they're lying and not trustworthy. So if they're going to buy the car, they're buying it not because of you, but in spite of you.
That's right.
Right? So what you want to do is all these things bring it down to the situation. Another thing that has to deal with a lot of men and women, right? Especially when I'm coaching women, this is very important, is tonality, right? Because there's different
Oh yeah.
social norms and mores for men, and there's different ones for women. But I want my girls to dominate, right?
Yeah.
So there's certain times that they need to be neutral, but there's certain times they need to be breaking. There's certain times they need to, come with the trying, go a little high, but then there's certain times they got to come with it. So when you can understand and you can visualize what you're doing with your speech,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just
Yeah.
take, for instance, you're just doing a video and you just want to, and someone to come through just to come in for an appointment, right? So you have 5 seconds to do what?
Get a
Capture
connection,
their
get
attention,
attention. Yeah.
right? Capture their attention, right? So if you do it you should come to my dealership. Hi, this is Marion,
Yeah.
right? You laugh. You're laughing. The reason why you laugh is because you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
And what are you gonna do? Click,
Yep.
right?
Put it down.
But then you've also seen the guys that are too cool to be school, and it's like, they give you the hello. You inquired about this and such vehicle. I want you to come down because my manager told me I got to make 5 vehicles before I can go to lunch. 5 videos before I go to lunch.
Yep.
You know, that's just the neutral. You got to come with some level of hard breaking. You know what I mean? You got boom, punch them, get them out their seat. Right. So that's the key. That's the key stuff. When you're, it's not just about showing up
Yeah.
anymore. It's about dominating. It's about excellence. It's about knowing what to look for and making the adjustments, and then being able to coach yourself, right? But sorry, there is one more thing I want to show you though. Hold on, there is
No,
one
go
more thing I
ahead.
got to
Take
show
your
you.
time.
Okay, there's one more thing I want to show you. So what happens is with each individual, right? So what happens with each individual, like once we've talked, and we've gone through, I have a whole couple of like very easy tests and stuff I do to kind of understand your personal psychological makeup, your temperaments.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is that with a lot of the training and the different stuff out there, you don't realize it, but you want to emulate that individual, right?
Yeah.
You see Grant Cardone, you like the Jets, you like this, you like that, and you are actually, I'm paying. I want to know your secrets. I want to do it your way,
That's
right?
right.
And the problem is that's the whole problem is that you're not him, right? You're not his background. You don't know where he's coming from, right? You don't have his temperament. And what's even sad, he doesn't even know the things that make him great, right? So
Yep.
what you're doing is actually you're learning, but you're taking 2 steps forward, but you're really taking 3 steps back in your lifetime development because you're trying to emulate someone, and then the minute you get to a point you don't know what you're doing, you're stopped and you're done, and everybody realizes you're a fraud. So the key thing about it is I teach all of my people their own personal connection code, so they dominate at work, they dominate in relationships. They dominate in interpersonal. They dominate in motivating, giving, and touching the lives of others. It's all the same. It's all the same process. Okay, so on each spot, you bring out someone's innate strengths, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. So individuals like a Grant Cardone, you understand his innate strengths. What are his innate strengths? He's already has more of an aggressive tone, right? He
Mm-hmm.
has no problem getting he has no problem getting out there. He has no problem expressing himself. He has no problem giving you a call to action, right? So the reason why that kind of stuff is you should understand that's his innate strength, right? If you That's already one of your innate strengths, and he's sitting there trying to teach you how to be more aggressive, how to have a call to action, right? and you already do it already, you're overbearing.
That's right.
You understand what I mean? So what happens is you have to understand, okay, what are his innate strengths? What are your innate strengths? But what are your weaknesses? And I call them perfection points, right? The perfection points. So those are the
Yeah.
things you need to work on. So I'll take me personally, right? I have no problem being in front of the crowd. I have no problem being, getting up, showing, and emoting, and feeling, and connecting with people. I do
That's
that
right.
naturally, right? I do it naturally. But what do I need to do? I want to get to my perfection points. My perfection points is having a system. My perfection points is dedicating myself to reading, dedicating myself to standardized education, systemized processes, right? So when I have the process, when I have the education, when I have the background,
Hmm.
right? And then I also have the look, right? Mixed with the storytelling, mixed with the call to action, mixed with boom. That's when you create that perfect person. So your whole setup, your code is different from my code. I'm gonna send you the test because I want to set one of these up for you too, right? So this right here is bringing back to certain individuals. I was talking about the different eyes and different stuff like
Yeah.
that, where they're at. That right there is that. But see, there's the other things I wanted. This other thing I want to show you that we've been playing with is is something that's really missing in dealerships as a whole, right? And this is
Hmm.
the next level of computers, AI, and everything like that. Because what's happening is that that individual that had all the product knowledge, right?
Oh yeah.
They're gone. They're gone. When they come to the dealership, they want the show. They want to be drawn. They don't want to even they don't want to they want to feel the persuasion, but it needs to be subtle.
Yeah.
It has to everything has to just be like, I don't know what happened, but I feel great about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So what's happened is that if you walk into a lot of these dealerships, you're sitting there giving them A plus training. You're helping them on exponential levels to change their mindset, right? But they walk out in dirty khakis and old t-shirts, and they can't figure out whether they're salespeople or they work as a technician in the back,
That's right.
right? So what folks don't understand is that the way you dress and the way you present yourself, those are subtle status markers too. Those are attraction signals too. So what I teach too is I give everyone your own perfect measurements throughout your body. So all of your clothes, shirts, dresses, jackets, everything is tailored to be aesthetically perfect. And this is something that all the major fashion houses have been doing for decades. You don't understand why you put on certain outfits and certain clothes and like, man, I can't take my eyes off myself. You look and you know. It's
Oh yeah.
science. So if you know that science, you can go get the same thing from a thrift store, go to a tailor for a fraction of the cost, boom, boom, boom. You got that same look. And not only does that translate to you looking in the mirror feeling better, I guarantee you it's hit that wallet. Your profits go through the roof, right? So the other aspect of like I was bringing out right here is when you're locked into who you are as an individual, right? And you walked into your selling style, you understand what you need to work on. You understand who's your best romantic match. You understand what type of person you need to watch out for. You understand
Exactly.
what type of individual you need to work with. You understand how to coach yourself on how you can grow professionally and how you can enhance your interpersonal relationships. So the reason why all this is of the utmost importance is because imagine actually having a manager that can really touch you internally.
Yeah.
Actually having a coworker that sits next to you that helps
Hmm.
you grow exponentially. Meeting a customer that you not only sell them a car, you represent in them a paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens, especially on a luxury level, right? When someone is buying a car from you, they're buying a reflection of the identity that they think that car represents.
Yep.
So you have to have the reflection of that same identity that the car represents, right? So if that's sitting there representing progress, if it's representing status marker, if it's representing those things, and you don't align with it, you're not congruent, they're not going to buy because that's just internal. This is not congruent. This doesn't feel right. I got to think about it, right? But when you have all the congruence together, it's a wrap. So this, and then this right here is, I think, one of the major reasons why people can't close. Right? The major
100%.
reasons why people can't close is they think closing is a verbal game. Right? They're not closers; they're clones. That's the problem with dealership and dealership training right now. They're all clones, bro.
Yeah.
You think
No,
a
it's the
lie.
truth though. I laugh, but
So
it's
clones.
serious.
So they're clones. But here's the thing
Yeah.
that's crazy. These folks have probably bought 3, 4 cars in their whole life. They've seen it before. That's what's sad, is that it hasn't
Jeez.
changed. So they have also, you're not a closer, you're a clone, right?
Yeah.
So if you were a real closer, you would understand, right, that the thing about video is the same thing about being in person, is that you have a visual medium, you have an auditory medium, and then when you can create a sense, oh my God, you're on fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is that you need to sit back and understand on each 5 of the relationships of how you're selling, how you're explaining stuff to folks. You need to understand the chart to make and how it relates back to them.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about with AI. This is what I'm talking about in terms of all the new tech and stuff that comes out, right?
Yeah.
So they expect AI and everything to do the work for them, right? But in reality, what
Yeah.
AI is going to do, AI is an enhancement, right? So
That's
the
right.
best way to think about AI is to think about it as a mirror in a fitness center, right?
Mm-hmm.
That mirror in the fitness center isn't going to do the work for you, but it's going to highlight what you're doing right, and it's going to highlight what you're doing wrong, right? And then that is what's going on. And so AI, people think this is one of the biggest fallacies in the whole dealership arrangement. They think that speed equates to better CSI, selling more cars. It doesn't.
Nope.
It's not about speed, right? What it's about is creating an experience that is effortless. So when you're on Amazon, you're not necessarily attracted by the speed. You're attracted by the effortless nature that you can narrow down all the niches, do all
That's
the
good.
research, be at your house. You are buying effort. You're buying time. Because I'm going to tell you like this: when you have an amazing experience, you don't want it to go fast. You want it to slow down.
That's right. You don't want to leave that restaurant.
You don't want to leave.
What just
Like
happened?
one thing I hate about first class is every time I leave first class in an airport, in an airplane, every time I leave first class in an airplane, I just sit back and like, man, they got me, right? Because what happens? You sit down,
That's right.
they give, as soon as you sit down, you want something to drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. You want something to eat? Yeah, let's do it, right? You want another drink? Right? Got another, and then boom,
Yep.
I
Yep.
wake up on there. And I just like, they got me again. I'm like, no, I want to stay awake. I want to get the whole experience. I
Mm-hmm.
want to eat all courses of the meal. You know what I mean? And that's what's whole thing is that you actually like, I wanted more, right? And so that's the whole situation. And so if you really narrow it down to the 2 different buyers, you can do a whole lot better in your whole dealership, right? You got
Mm-hmm.
to understand whether the person wants a car or they need a car. You know what I mean?
They're two
So
whole
if a
different people.
person wants a car, right? They're not going to be pressured by interest rates, tariffs, tactics, high pressure, all that stuff. They're not going to be, right? But an individual that needs a car, that's a whole different type of situation, right? They're going to be on they just want to know the payment.
That's it.
Give me a payment, I got to get in, I get it out. These are my needs.
Yep.
So what happens is that if you understand the two, you can understand how to get maximum profit out of the two, right? Because a lot of times, all these dealerships, what's so crazy is I walk in and I'm doing secret shopping and I'm watching, and they don't understand what it's like to purchase a luxury item. If you go
Mm.
walk in Hermes and you say, I have 50,000 in my pocket and I will buy your cheapest Birkin bag, sight unseen, what happens? What happens, Duran? Do they give it to you? You don't get it. You don't get
Nope.
it. To buy, in order to buy a Birkin bag, you have to
Gotta wait.
you no, not just wait. You have to buy some scarves. You got to buy some hats. You got to get on. You have to prove to them you can represent their brand. And then when you finally get in, you have to start at the entry level, right? And
Hey.
so what's happened over the years, this process has increased, right? This
Mm-hmm.
process has increased. And you would think that would kill the Birkin brand. No.
Yeah.
These things, I remember, they used to be 10,000 for the entry level. Now they're 30, 25 for entry level,
Yeah.
right? And people are buying. And so what are you actually buying? Do they have other bags at home? Do they have Louis at home? Do they have
A
Chanel's
hundred
at home?
percent. 100%.
So what are they buying then?
They're buying
They're
an
buying
experience. They're
they're
buying
buying
an
a
experience.
status marker.
That's right. Makes them
They're
feel
buying a
good.
status marker. They're
Yeah.
buying a story. When
Yeah.
they put that bag on, it's telling the world a story about them,
Yeah.
who they are, where they come from, where they're going, what they believe in, right? So if you have these high level status markers, right, and you're selling this vehicle, and then the first thing you're talking about is discount, right?
And you create that.
Thank you. You created it. They were ready to come in and pay full sticker.
Yeah.
They were
You
ready to pay
created
more
it.
than full sticker,
They're like,
right?
oh, okay, this is great.
Yeah, because
Wasn't
because what
expecting that.
happens is, and then what happens, especially in luxury, you're dealing with the apex predators of this society. You're dealing with
Yeah.
the titans of industry, right? And so what happens is they go from going to the next level to they go on and they put on their apex predator hat now. Now they want to kill you. Now they want to win. And so it has nothing to do. They're gonna buy the car now, but now they want to win.
Yeah.
And you know the reason why that's all the case is because these same people during COVID they paid 20,000 over a sticker and didn't care.
Isn't that wild?
Like I really thought that like everybody was saying how the whole industry was gonna collapse right now because all these people paid over sticker. You know what happens when they came in? They just put more of a down payment down. They don't care.
That's right. Because
Oh,
somebody
what's the
with,
payment?
yeah, you'd
What's the
have
payment?
to get something that high over, you would have to be a qualified buyer. You'd have to. Well qualified, 20, 30K over.
But it was never about the price though.
Yeah.
It was never about the price. So if you think about from a tariff
Man,
standpoint,
that's
right?
good.
People don't understand that from the tariffs, Reagan already did this back in his regime. He already did this tariff stuff, right? So what happened is, the way the foreign folks responded. That's how Lexus was born. They increased the tariffs on each vehicle. So what they did was they made a better luxury vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
They had less vehicles and they had more features and more benefits and stuff in the vehicle, and they were able to dominate the luxury market doing that.
Wow.
They've already affected it. Trump rose tariffs last time he was in the steel. That almost bankrupted Ford. They had to raise the prices on each car 1,000 or 2,000 because of the steel. It's already been done. But I'm going to tell you the secret no one's talking about right now with this tariff situation. Really, what I think, because when I was over in Europe, all I saw was ads and all I saw was people talking about these new EVs coming out of China.
Oh
The
yeah.
BY, I think BYD, a couple of those. I'm talking about, Darren, these things are smoking. And truthfully, I just really think that the whole tariff situation is to slow them down from getting over here to dominating our market because they can make them better and they're only like $20,000.
It's a scary situation if you think about it. Like that's intense.
I'm done with my monologue.
What's that?
I'm done with, sorry, I just started rolling. I'm done with my monologue. My
No,
wife is
no, no,
laughing
no,
at
no. I'm just, yeah, man. I mean, I'm on pages and pages of notes, and this is, we're going to get into our rapid fire now. I have a feeling this is about to be a Kane and Cage continual thing. It might be like a once a month debrief or something because
Let's go.
we could go on literally for hours, or maybe we have like a live room where people can really get in there and connect and ask some questions, because I think it's great for people to hear different voices and different backgrounds, which I love the fact, like, I don't know how I missed it. And probably one of the times that we've talked about our accounting background, it's like hearing you talk about it, I thought I was like on an island by myself. But now I realize there's probably thousands of other car people that started in that background too. Because I was
Mhm.
selling cars in '02, but then I also was going to school and got my degree in accounting as well.
Oh wow.
And what that, and I detested it, man. Like Marion, I detested it. I was like, why did I pick this major? And the way that it happened, I met the counselor or whatever those people called. I sat down and I was like, she was like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't care. I mean, what makes the most money? Like, what makes
Yeah.
money?" And she
Right.
said, "Finance, engineering, accounting, doctor." I said, "I'm not staying long." I said, "What can I do where I can get out real quick? Like, get in
Yeah.
4 or 5." She was like, "Finance or accounting?" I said, "I'll do accounting." I literally flipped a coin, like
Yeah.
counting, boom, went through it, and it was miserable. But now I understand the whole point of the process. It's like the God thing that you
Yeah.
were saying earlier. I'm like, oh, I get it. So you knew way back 20 some years ago that it was going to be a business and I was going to run a store. And then when a
Yeah.
financial statement gets thrown in front of my face, I'd be able to quickly go down and just
Boom.
look and be like, okay, oh, okay. Oh, man, look at this. Oh, I found something. Okay, something's wrong here. Look at this. You see this? And then look at our receivables. See the problem, we got to get them to get our cash sooner. So what we can do,
Yeah.
and it goes back to a lot of us, sometimes we stop right before we were supposed to finish something that we could not stand, and we didn't understand why we were doing it. But what you didn't know is your future self, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, maybe even 30 minutes from now, needs the information that it's trying to
Yes.
give you right now, because everything happens for a reason. So if you're watching this show and you heard something that sounds painful and you're like, man, I'm not about, I don't want it might be a cue to you to say you probably need to do that because it touched something that you've been holding off on, or it's something that doesn't make you feel comfortable. And us as humans, we know when something's not comfortable to us, that's where you're supposed to be. You want to grow
Right.
muscles, it's uncomfortable. You want to run, it's uncomfortable. But then on the other side of that comfort is bliss. So let's get into the to the rapid fire, and then
Before we jump into that, though,
yeah,
is
go
that
ahead.
I also think that what makes you great in terms of BDC and CRM, and also being able to break things down on from a macro to a micro level is like I sales, and especially BDC, is all a math game. If you don't understand your percentages and you don't understand how to make those manipulation changes in those percentages, like you don't, Jen said, you cannot communicate and you can't grow, and all it is a fear. And those
Yeah,
numbers, they should not be, there never should be a fear when you know how to manipulate it and you know how to change it, you know how to improve it, right?
yeah,
So like your math, I know you can sit there, your average, you can't take it for granted. I know if you sit back and really think about it, like you could sit there and look at, okay, shows slow my percentages here, here,
yep,
here. Okay, I know how to change this and this. This isn't that important. They're looking at this, but I can change it by doing this,
yep,
right? You're sitting there focusing on this number, but hey, this is where all our money's coming from,
yep,
or hey, I don't mind this number percentage being high. I'm doing a bunch of subprime deals, right?
yep,
You know what I mean? So I'm gonna wade through those. I don't care. These are all 800s. Of course, your numbers are better. You know what I mean? Because you're just getting all 800s. Okay, of course your closing percentage is killer, right? So that math is so pivotal, and I kid you not, I'm so happy you mentioned that. I kid you, I would teach a math class before I would teach any closes. Swear to God.
yep.
Swear to God.
Gosh, I believe it, because when I coach, when you go, even if you went through the course that I have, it starts off on like the mindset, getting yourself ready. Then it starts off with the goal. Where are you trying to go? What's that thing that you've been wanting? And then that third phase, you already know we're gonna get out the math, right? Because I don't start
Yeah.
with with the pain of the math that it might create for some people, but I want them emotionally to get invested. Like, oh yeah, I want this, and then it's simple. Any dealerships, CRM, They send me a data within 1 minute. I can tell them everything that's wrong and right with their store. When
Exactly.
I see lead to video, lead to set, lead to contact, really it's lead to contact, lead to set, lead to show, lead to sold. When I see those and then break down different data points within that, then even going back to the website from visitors to conversion to that, it right there tells me, because we've been doing this, Marion, so long that I literally 1 minute in the CRM, let me see, boom, boom, boom. Let me look at your ROI report. Okay, here's what's going on. You've got a this problem. You got a leadership problem. You got an accountability problem. You have a consistency problem. You have your AI is way too good, but your people got lazy problem. And having that background is so great, because it allows me to have a little bit of magic there, but then the rest of the time can be focused on how do we improve it? How do we make
So,
it better? How does this work for you? So maybe we will have to do a little, maybe that's one of the
so
sessions that we do, is we really
yeah,
break down different areas of math and how to make the math move money for you by
big
breaking
time.
down what are the key measurables, right?
But here's the flip, though. I want you to explain to me real quick. Is
Yeah.
that you got the math down packed, right?
Yeah.
But social media doesn't follow the math, though. It
Mm.
does, but it doesn't. So how do you measure it? How do you quantify it for the A type personalities, the left brain thinkers?
Man, so quantifying social media to me looks like, one, you have to be consistent. So do not try to quantify social media if you're not going to be in the game for at least 90 days consistently,
Mhm.
because your math will either make you feel like you're the best thing since whatever, or the worst thing in the world, to where you get depressed, you get down. And then from
Yeah.
there, once you're staying consistent, mix and match with some content, some video, and some images and some powerful words, like it really has to connect with who you are, because again, it shouldn't be content creation, it should be content documentation. What is it that
Yes.
you're doing? What is it that you're doing that seems educational, entertainment, whatever? And then once you have that map down, then yeah, you can look at your impressions, your engagement, your shares. But there's so many technology tools out there now that will guide you and help you once you put the data in. So if you're somebody on here like, I don't know where to start, make some content, then you can drop it in just about any AI tool, or you can get a coach, and it's going to tell you, well, what are you trying to do? What's your goal here? Are you trying to help people? Are you trying to generate leads? That's what it comes down. And it goes back to what I said earlier. My number one goal, especially with shows like this, is to add value to the marketplace, to educate those that are needing this kind of content. And then if it leads to a conversation with you or somebody with myself, it's like the conversation kept going from this podcast show.
So Durant, real quick, right? Is that so? What happens with the video is that I've had a lot of older guys, a lot of the GMs, the GSMs, long time, and they just say, "I'm too old. I'm too old to learn
Mm-hmm.
the AI. I'm too old to get on the video wave. I'll leave that for the young people, the TikTokers, and all this other stuff." So they use age as a deterrent. But I
Mm-hmm.
asked them, what's bigger of a deterrent? Your age or you being invisible? That's what it really comes down to right nowadays. Is you're invisible. And when you're invisible, the people, it's different. When they're looking at the video, it's not about the car. They're about whether they can trust you.
Yeah.
They want to trust you. So that's what they got to understand. That video is so important, is that you're building the first impression, you're building a level of trust, because everybody wants to micro chunk all the stuff, and they want to make those thin, this called a thin slice decision,
Yeah.
right? And the last thing they want to do is they want to be made a fool of. They don't want to drive 45 minutes and show up. They want the certainty. And that's what you're selling. And you don't understand. The people keep forgetting. When they drive to you, they're passing that same car probably 5 times,
That's right.
right? But you've sold certainty. And in the past, your dealership used to sell certainty. Your management proposition used to sell certainty, but now it's not. It's all about you, right? And so it really brings the whole thing about McDonald's, right? They don't make the best burger.
Mm-mm.
You can get better burgers everywhere else, but what they own is real estate. All of us have sworn off McDonald's at one time in our life, but what happens when we take that long road trip? We
That's right.
pass one, we're like, nah, we're good. We pass another one, we're like, those fries are kind of good. But by that third time, boom, what happens? You pull in, right?
Yep.
And you get rid of the bag before everybody else gets in the car, right?
That's it.
And so it's that's the thing. That's what's happening with social media, and people get it wrong. And that they do the reverse, and they think it's all about showing 360 views of cars and stuff like that. Nobody wants to see that. The marketing that these other folks come up that predictive and all stuff are way better than that. They want to buy you. They want to see your beliefs, your choices, your views. They want to know that they're in the hands, their Bugatti of life that hasn't been given to someone that's in a learner's permit, right? That's what the level of they want to know. So you sit there, that's all you're showing. You
That's
know
it.
what? Not only can I drive a Bugatti, I can hit the curves, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. I'm good. I'm going to take care of this. And then you also can share that with other people, right? So it's a long-term approach. And it's even shown in the way we watch TV today. So
Yeah.
I look at a lot of dealer sites, right? And it's either just a lot of like features and benefits and different stuff like that of a car. Come see me, this is our sale, right? That's the equivalent of watching what's your favorite show, your
I
favorite
would
TV show?
say, like you're saying right now,
Yeah.
man, why do you have to do that? I would say we just finished Last of Us, which was a little dark. That was a little crazy. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would
So,
be one in
so
the studio on Apple Plus. Crazy.
right. So
Yeah.
so 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 you're looking at Last of Us, and say you're watching it, and every 5 minutes you have to watch 30 minutes of commercials.
Oh, I'm
How
out.
long are you going to watch that show?
I wouldn't even get to the commercial. The moment the commercial popped, gone. So I'm out.
That's how
Unless I
some.
wanted to
That's
watch
how
it.
most dealerships. That's how most dealerships social media feed real looks like. It
Yep.
feels like tons of commercials, and there's no depth, there's no personality, there's zero connection, there's zero experience, and there's zero telling me about you and your beliefs, what you believe in, how we're going to create this connection, how we're going to keep it going, right? So the other one is it's counterintuitive. You don't watch. We pay to not watch commercials, and it's not even about being entertaining. Because the other flip side, I want to show you what's something crazy. My videos that get the most traction, that get the most people reaching out to me to train them, have no likes, no comments.
That's right.
I started asking the people, like, why didn't you even press like? And they're like, I've been watching you forever. And I go back and look, and you've never liked my stuff.
Mm.
Never. And so and you know what I know what the problem is? That was offending me, but I was the problem. That's the new society nowadays,
Yeah.
right? It's like you don't like that's the vanity metrics.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. What means is the connection and the effect that you have on that individual, and it's something over time. You just got to keep showing up, keep showing up.
Mm.
So what I always recommend is, especially with your video and stuff like that, it has to start at the top. The GM, the GSM, they have to make videos on a daily basis. They have to be able to be critiqued on how to make their videos better. They have to be able to
Mm-hmm.
see on how those videos can equate to better relationships with their customers and their coworkers, right? And it's not about opening your life and making all these, telling where you stand politically and all this. No, there's a lot more to you than those things. It's just about what's in your heart, and you're connected to what you believe in and what you sell. That's
Yeah.
it. Sorry, let's do rapid fire.
Man, let's go. Well, I mean, do you keep? All right, we're gonna go, but I got to add on one last thing that I did
Yeah.
not mention,
Oh,
but Marion
I'm good
sparked
on
it, and
time.
I'm gonna
I'm chilling.
stop. Is that the other metric that we want to pay attention to, but not even pay attention to, is what Marion just said at the end. How many people are reaching out to him, like, hey, asking information, but don't forget about the power if you're using video of sending one-to-one messages to people that are
Oh
engaging
yes,
with your content.
yes,
I would say
yes.
that's the biggest secret that I can give to
Mhm.
the world that has transformed my life and my business is what you all see on social media is maybe 40 to 30% of what's going on in DMs where I'm sending hundreds of videos each week to owners, praising people for sharing my content, reposting, calling those people away from business and texting them and saying, hey, man, thank you so much. So I want to make sure that we don't lose that intentional touch. Like what Marion said, people will reach out to you, but don't forget about reaching out to people to thank them for that support.
Yes.
So, all right, rapid fire. We got the IG. Here we go. One word to describe the future of automotive sales.
Luxury touch points.
Mm,
So it doesn't matter what type of dealership you have. You have to have luxury touch points. You have to walk in, and you can't. There has to be a clear differentiation from a Walmart in your dealership.
yeah.
It has to walk, breathe, talk, move like a singular theme. Everyone has to be lock, stock, and barrel. And so it's that situation that folks are missing, because it's not about the price. They want the experience.
That's
They
it.
want to feel like they want to feel something, right? And it's those things that cut. You don't understand, when you have luxury touch points, you don't need closes.
Yeah.
When you got luxury touch points, you don't have to learn all these objections. When you have luxury touch points, you don't have to worry about CSI, because these folks are like, wow, they're sharing photos
Yep.
of you and your experience, right, at the dealership. And then that's generating traffic. So that's what I really think is the future, because there are those folks that want the frictionless experience, right?
Oh
They're
yeah.
they're they're versed and different stuff like that. They want that. But I'm gonna tell you flat out, there's a lot of folks that don't. They want to
Mm-hmm.
drive the car. They want to go the experience. They want to drag all their kids down the dealership. You know?
Oh yeah.
And it's the bottom line. What's changed? The feel of the wheel seals the deal. That's been from day one. How's that going to change now? It doesn't.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. I really don't want to hear it. Like all this, like Carvana and the Amazon. I'm happy of those folks that are scared, because that already tells me you don't get it.
Yeah.
Opt out. Be afraid.
I like
At
it.
Amazon, one thing Amazon doesn't have, one thing Carvana doesn't have, is it doesn't have me. It doesn't have you,
That's
right?
right.
And if you have a differentiation, you truly believe that, you'll never be scared.
That's right. Question number 2. The most underrated skill of an F&I manager. Ooh. Most underrated skill of an F&I manager.
Reading credit,
Ah, I like it. All right. A common
reading
myth about.
credit. The reason why reading credit is important is, if you can read someone's credit, you
Mm-hmm.
can tell me everything about what's important in their life. You follow the money, you follow what's important, right? So you
Yeah.
sit there, you see that woman that's a newlywed, right? And she's had 4 different last names already. You're like, interesting, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
sit there, you see the individual, you look, and you see they have multiple autos, and you know how to do the math. And you look and you see their other autos are at 18%, 16%. You make friends with them. You're like, hey, you know what? I just got you this car deal at about 5%. And I see you have these ones at 18%. With your credit, let's get you out of those too and get you down to 3%, 4%. It only makes sense,
I like
right?
that. Makes total
So
sense.
it makes total sense. So then you sit back, you can read credit, you understand. Okay, their TransUnion's higher than their Experian, than their Equifax. So I know, like, okay, that's the case. Let me go to the captive that looks at TransUnion. Let me go to this credit union that looks at Experian. Let me call
Yeah.
them up and make a case for them, help them understand. Yeah, they have these issues, but they went through this, and that. Look at, they paid perfectly on all these things. They've been in the bureau since this long. When you can understand, the key thing about it is, with F&I, you have 20 minutes to show your dominance, to show that you're
I
sharp,
like that.
and to show that you're a force, right? You have to raise somebody. Like, pretty much I told you, like, on average, we're raising the box. If I'm going to do a $4,000 profit, that means that we're raising them at least 10 to 12 every single time. And they sat there, had negotiated it down 5 before, but in 15 minutes, you're going to raise your payment another $200-300. They're only going to do that if they believe in you, and you selling certainty, not fear.
Oh yeah.
You're selling convenience, not savings. You're selling peace of mind, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
price, right? They don't want it. That's what they want. And that's the stuff. When you're selling those things, those are intangible. Those don't have a price on them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's that change. So with F&I is a complete different mindset. I'm also really moving toward helping people with single point of contact. A lot of these folks that are training it, they've actually never dominated as an F&I and as a manager and as a
Mm-hmm.
salesperson. So you don't understand all the nuances. I have different, setups and a process that I think that, will, that I know works. I've done it. So it's some people want to go to the single point of contact.
Yeah.
Others still like the traditional model, but there's ways to make extreme profit out of all of them.
Oh, I agree with that. Next one, a common myth about AI in sales.
That AI is going to do, like, kind of replace you, or AI is going to do all the work for you. What's interesting is the first thing I do if I'm hired to have at a new dealership and I have to turn a dealership around. The very first thing I do is replace the receptionist.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
The very first thing I do, because you replace the receptionist, you get two people up there that are answering the phones and actually picking them up and actually greeting them and actually greeting people as they come through the door, right? That is a huge game changer for profits. So, truthfully, what's happening right now is that AI is just being used as a reliable worker, right? Actually, it's like people are just so happy, but AI is really just somebody that is just a reliable worker that does their job and is just well trained, right? They don't understand the next level, the nuances of it, right? So, what AI does for people that take it to the next level, they make the stuff that has shows effortless, and
Mm.
that's what creates the experience, right? So when I plug into the AI, right, all the things about, hey, I have the person, as soon as somebody comes through to my desk, right, I put them in the AI. I put in their address, I put in where they live, I tell them to pull their social, I pull everything, and I say, hey, give me a breakdown of this individual. They're buying this type of car for this woman, boom. How would you sell them? Talk to the AI. Have them tell you,
Yeah.
right? And so you get the whole breakdown and you understand that not just, okay, because Darwin and different stuff like that, they do like a little test and they give you a little predictive. These are the different things that might appeal to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based
Oh yeah.
on the stuff you put in. It's not bad, but you can actually use AI to go 1,000 levels deeper. This is, you put in, okay, this is how far they traveled from work. They got a house, they got a wife, they got a kid. The dominant person's the wife. I kind of think they're this and this personality. They do this for work. How can I relate this sale to their job? Give me 5 seconds. I got 5 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a game changer. So if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, it's a doctor and they're buying a BMW 5 Series and they're currently in a Mercedes, you can sit there and you can relate to the miles and how that relates to them as a doctor, and then you can give analogies based on how to sell them. Right. So
Yeah.
people don't understand analogies is the greatest thing to use in terms of sales. Right. So there was this guy that made millions doing life insurance sales. Right. And so finally, when he retired, they asked him, what was your secret? What did you do? And then he just was like, he had no skin in the game. He just said, I'll tell you honestly, I use the same analogy every day, right? I'm going around knocking on the door to sell life insurance. I asked the person, what would you do if you had a machine that printed money in your basement? You need to pay rent, you go down there and grab the money out of the machine. You need to get groceries, you go down and get money out of the machine. Would you insure that machine in your basement? Would you? Would you,
Oh
Duran?
yeah. Absolutely.
You are that money making machine for your family.
All day.
You get what I'm saying? You are that
Mm-hmm.
money making machine in your family. You don't think that your family needs life insurance on you?
Yeah.
Boom, close. Right? So that's the same thing. You have to figure out stories for each aspect of your pitch that relate
Oh
back
yeah.
to that individual. And then what happens is people, they like to make connections, but they don't like being told what to do. But if they can
Yeah.
make the connections on their own, they're sold.
Oh man, that's so good. Gosh. All right. I like this next question. Your go-to strategy during a sales slump? If you ever have one, or if you're coaching one, if you're in a sales slump, what's the strategy?
Today's another amazing day as usual.
I like that.
I dominate. I kill. This is what I do. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a slump. There's like market conditions. Like, that's what people don't understand. Market conditions, and during every, I love luxury vehicles because it helps me to realize during every type of market somebody's winning.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not you, you just got to change your approach.
Yeah.
It's really so. But what happens on it's easy to blame your manager. It's easy to blame the sales. It's easy to place inventory, all this other stuff. And in reality, it's just you. It's
Yeah.
just you. So when you have a slump, right? The best thing you can do is to get back to your non-negotiables.
Mm.
Non-negotiables is I wake up, I work out, I read the
Yeah.
Bible, I journal, I look in the mirror, I tell it my story, I do my affirmations, I listen to positive stuff on the radio, I listen to positive podcasts, I don't put
Yeah.
crap in my brain, I don't eat bad, I don't hang with bad people, right? So when you control the controllables, there's no such thing as a slump. They're
Mm.
reacting to you. There's not a whole lot of cars. Okay, sell that one car for 3 times the amount. Let's go. Yeah, you need to make more money and stuff. You need to make more money. You're down on numbers. Ask for more money. You need to make a certain quota. Make it cheaper. Sell a whole lot of them. Get the heck out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple.
Man. All right. Last question. You go back to your younger self. What advice are you giving yourself 20 years ago?
Not my life's been perfect, bro. Sorry.
So you just gonna tell them like, just say good job, dude. Just like, hey,
Nah,
we pass you on, you're good.
I look back. I look back, and everything that's happened. Like
Mm-hmm.
I look back. It's got me here.
Mm.
Talking to you. You know,
Yeah.
like I look at my life. I live in a dream, bro. Like it's amazing. I live on 20 acres. I have the biggest house in my zip code.
Yeah.
I'm just some dude from Boston. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those situations where it's like I think you can't look in the past.
Yeah.
You look past in the past, like you can't like I'll put it like this. I don't like to go to sleep because my present is better than my dreams.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? What I'm doing on a daily basis, what I'm actually
I like that.
accomplishing, I can't even come up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just try to 10x everything. Like I go on vacation, I do whatever. I'm not spending a whole lot of money. I'm just doing experiences. I want to fly a helicopter. I want to get in the speedboat. I want to go here. I want to go on top of the Eiffel. I want to do like it's just like I just put down stuff. Okay, I'm gonna do it and just knock it down. You know what I mean? And so what happens
Yes.
is that when you do it once and then you start doing it again, you just start like boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
right? And you're just you don't go to sleep. You don't go to sleep for you go to sleep for a refreshment. You don't go to sleep to escape.
Mm.
My escape is when I wake up, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, some people say paradise is once you're gone. And I say, you can have paradise right here.
You
We
got it.
we create this experience. There's so
it
much
and
of
it,
it that we
it has
we
nothing to do with money either. It has
yeah,
nothing to do with money. Because that's one thing I try to preach and teach to people. When you can create, you're this next level individual. You're
yeah,
attracting, right? You're attracting the people. The people. Like you don't know how many of my customers private jets. Oh yeah, I will fly you wherever you need to go. I got my jet. Take it whenever you want. You know what I mean? Like how many people? Like yeah, I got my boat. I got my yacht. You're more than welcome to go get it. So
mm-hmm,
that's what you understand is it's not you're chasing the wrong thing. It's your
yeah,
thought process, your mind is actually playing tricks on you because
yeah,
you're thinking I have to work hard, sacrifice family, sacrifice good time, sacrifice life so I can afford all these great stuff. But if you just showed up and you're a good person, people will give it to you,
all day,
right?
all
And then
day,
you have it with no pain. I can sit there and fly private all the time. I don't have to worry about having to pay for the hangar. I have to pay for gas and all this other stuff. Do you know how much it is to gas up a yacht?
oh my gosh, Easy 6, 7.
I was on someone's yacht. You know
Easy
how much it is
six,
to
seven.
gas up a yacht? $8,000. Okay, to gas it up,
I was
and
off
I'm
my
just
game.
living. I'm just living on the deck, eating lobster tails. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to worry about that. I don't want to experience. I want to experience it, but I don't need that. I don't need that aspect. So that's the reason why I really try to push people to not just put lists of what you want. Don't
Yeah.
worry about how it's coming, but just be focused. And it's that extreme focus that allows you to get and see what you want. Before we go, it's called reticular activation system, right?
Mm-hmm.
This
Oh.
whole thing about being a jack of all trades and all this other stuff, no, you need to focus on one thing. And then when you focus on that one thing, you will see the path. The path will come right in front of you, right? And then what blows people's mind is they get what they want and then they get there and it doesn't give them that feeling. Or they get there and they realize they didn't really want it, right? I remember when I was
Mm-hmm.
younger, I wanted a Lamborghini so bad. Once I got it, I was like, this is a piece of crap. I didn't want it. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, oh, what happened is I got it. I knocked it off my list. And I recognized, okay, hey, that's what I wanted. It's not really the experience. I wanted the choice. I wanted the mindset. I didn't want limitations. I want abundance. And it starts with your mind. If you think you're limited, it's not going to happen for you. But if you have an abundance mentality, it all happens for you.
Dude. I mean, come on, man. The last 5 questions was a whole nother podcast, y'all. That was bonus that my man just gave y'all. Oh my gosh. Um, Marion Cain III. Thank you. From I'm not even gonna say from the bottom of my heart. I'm gonna say from head to toe, man. The energy, the wisdom, the light that you shared in these last few moments are incredible. I've got pages of notes. I'm sure people watching do as well. But I know people are going to want to connect with you after seeing this. How do they do it? How do they reach out to you? What's the best way?
I make it a point to be on every platform. So whatever platform works for you, reach out to me. My phone number is on everything. Call me. You know, I'm not shy of where I'm at. I love having lunch with people. I love connecting with people. I love having people over my house with my family, sit there, break bread, walk on my property, go grab some fruit off my trees. Let's do it. You know, because that's what it's all about. Is about real relationships, real connecting, and being there with the people, not around them, not
Mm-hmm.
not just lip service, just really understanding them, looking them in the face, and that's what I appreciate. That's really what I appreciate, and it's like I really am so passionate about sales. I'm so passionate about the auto industry, and I really feel that if there was a lot more unity in our dealerships, if everybody was on the same page, if everybody loved each other, if everybody wasn't so worried about their advancement, their goals, how much this person's making money, or what this that's doing. It's so crazy. I kid you not. Training and walking into dealerships. What's so sad is the car is the least of the problems.
Yeah.
Like it's like people have the if they had a they're fighting their managers, they're fighting accounting, they're fighting you know what I mean, they're fighting the salespeople. It's just it's a whole symbiotic relationship. That's the first thing, the crux that needs to be fixed and needs to be resolved. Then you can go sell cars. You know,
Yeah.
in the Bible, there's a principle that the people would come to go worship at the altar, and they say before you go to the altar, you need to go do what? Fix the stuff that's going on with your family first. Fix what's going on with your friends first.
Oh, that's
Then come
good.
worship. You know, and it's a similar situation at work and at sales and different stuff like that. I just encourage and implore people get into an environment where you feel you flourish, you feel good, but you also can give and help and inspire other people, and it's appreciated. And then at that point, you'll make the money, you'll have the quotas, you'll make the sales. It won't be stressful, But the
Yeah.
change starts with you. Give, help, and inspire and love.
Oh man. Next show, I'm coming down to them 20 acres that he was just talking about. We're
Yeah,
not
come
too
out there.
far away from each
We
other,
got the berries
and
and stuff up, man.
And then
You
I'm gonna
know, I'm
sit.
just some city boy. I got a tractor. We'll go ride on the tractor and we'll cut the grass and do all that good stuff. Let's
Yes,
go.
and I'm sitting in that chair the next time, y'all. The
I
next
got
time you see
two.
this, I'm gonna be sitting in that chair interviewing my man. No, I won't do that. I'll let him have the king
I
chair,
got
but we can
two.
get another one
Bring
like
all
that.
the kids. Hey, thanks again. Thank you so much, and please give my regards to your family.
Yes, yours as well. Until then,
Yes, sir.
be
I'm
good,
about to go
man.
grub down.
All right,
See you, my
all
friend.
right, man. Peace.